Hearing loss, a very serious and dramatic topic. Now, imagine I welcome you to this episode, and you can only hear me like this. And even if you turn up the volume, you don't understand more, you only hear more noise. Well, this is roughly what hearing feels like for people suffering from noise-induced hearing loss. Not only that they lose the ability to hear certain frequencies, the disease is also accompanied by tinnitus and an extreme sensitivity to sound, the so-called hyperacusis. Now, just imagine that you can't hear properly, but at the same time, every sound is too loud for you and hurts your ears, and you also have a constant ringing and hissing in your head. And to make things worse, noise-induced hearing loss is incurable. The reason is that the hair cells of the inner ear do not recover once they're damaged, at least not in mammals or humans. So the only way to avoid noise-induced hearing loss is to avoid excess noise. But musicians are exposed to noise, maybe to a more beautiful noise than factory workers. But the decibel, especially in big symphony orchestras or rock bands, are usually higher than the recommended limit of 85 decibel. So musicians have a certain risk of damaging their ears. However, you also have to be careful when reading about decibel and loudness of the different instruments. Comparisons like a big symphony orchestra is louder than the starting airplane only make people panic. And of course, many orchestra players finish their career without having hearing problems. When determining the danger of noise on the ear, it's very important to not only measure the decibel once, but to measure the exposure to noise over the week and also over the years. Also, the distance from the source of the noise to the ear is important. Furthermore, certain frequencies, sorry piccolo players, are more uncomfortable and potentially dangerous than others. So in an orchestral setting, the player sitting next to the piccolo or the woodwinds and strings sitting in front of the brass section may be at a higher risk than, for example, the concertmaster. But maybe the double bass players are also at risk because they stand close to the wall and may suffer from the sound reflection. So you see, the situation is very individual and not as easy as you might think. But what can musicians do to protect their ears? Well, it's actually quite simple. Have enough rest, that means silence. Use earplugs. Use protection in the room or hall. The latter can be thick curtains, it can be sound panels on the wall or ceiling, or sound shields between the different sections in the orchestra. Earplugs are very effective, but unfortunately still quite unpopular among musicians. Many musicians complain that they cannot play on a professional level when wearing earplugs. That's not true, but let me explain you why this opinion still exists. First, people use inappropriate models. For musicians, all models are useless except the custom-made plugs with linear filters. Something like this. These models filter all frequencies regularly so you can hear everything just softer. Models like that do not work when you want to play an instrument because you will hear everything blurred. Second mistake. People wear the plugs all the time. Why? There's no need playing a Mozart symphony in a big hall and wearing earplugs. Wear the ear protection according to the situation. When you sit in front of the brass section, put the plugs in before they start with their fortissimo passage. Of course, this requires some practice, doing it rather unnoticeable. Third, people don't practice playing with the plugs. Of course, you hear yourself differently when wearing ear protection. So you have to practice that you know how you sound outside when wearing the plugs. This process takes some time, usually 3 months. But many musicians don't have the patience to do that. And then the earplugs end up sitting in the instrument case unused. Anyway, at the end of this rather long episode, I can only beg you to protect your ears. Destruction of the hair cells is unnoticeable. And once you notice that your hearing is declining, it is too late. So, please, give your ears regular breaks with silence and use ear protection whenever possible.